Top of the morning, folks. Can you guys hear that rain? It is a dreary, soggy, rainy day here in Georgia today. I'm in here unboxing some lights, some new lights I got for the studio. This is an Aperture Amaran P60X, not to be confused with P90X. It's a really cool LED panel light. I'm always trying to up the ante on the production value of my videos. And it got me thinking there's probably a lot of you guys who have been wanting to create your own videos. Maybe you've even been tossing around the idea of creating a YouTube channel and you don't know where to start. If you're brand new to it, it can be very overwhelming and intimidating. Thought I would try to demystify the whole process and give you some direction to get you started and explain things in a way that's not gonna make your head swim, because this can be very complicated. We're gonna talk about cameras. We're gonna talk about lighting. We're gonna talk about audio. And I'm gonna give you my recommendation if I were starting over today and I had a limited budget I was working on, the money that I would save and the rig that I would start with, and it would be this right here. We'll get to that more in a bit. If that sounds interesting to you, I would like to invite you to grab your things, follow me into the control room, and we'll carry on this conversation. Let's get it. Okay, so the first thing we have to establish is when you're starting out, getting a camera, being in front of it, looking into it, you are going to suck. You're never going to be as bad as you are on day one. And the more that you do it, the better you're going to get. And it's just something you have to fail forward through. When I think back about when I was starting and trying to wrap my head around all the differences in cameras and lenses, it was so overwhelming. The sticker shock of all the pricing, and then at the end of it, trying to make your footage look pro. It can be incredibly overwhelming. I think the first place that we should start is just talking about some key concepts as it relates to cameras. The first being resolution. Resolution is simply the quality of the footage, how crisp it looks. 1080 is gonna look great, that's high def. 4K is gonna look twice as good as 1080. 8K is gonna look twice as good as 4K. Most of the TVs and the devices that you're gonna be looking at your footage on or your videos on are gonna be at most 4K. So take that into consideration. When you're looking for a camera, you probably want something that's gonna shoot 4K. That's what we're looking at right now. The next thing is going to be the frame rate. So when we're talking about frame rates, I don't want to go too deep on this. Just know that you're probably going to want to shoot most things, if it's talking head, interview style stuff, or if you're shooting yourself making music, you probably want to do it in 24 frames per second up to maybe 30 frames per second. They have a little different look. In North America, 24 frames is the standard that you're going to see in television. Outside of North America, I think it's 25 frames. But if you're shooting action stuff that's got a lot of information, things are happening quickly, you're probably going to want to shoot in 60 frames per second. And conversely, when you're trying to slow things down and you want to put your footage into slow motion, 60 frames per second is going to give you a much smoother look. 120 frames per second is going to give you even a slower, steadier, smoother look as well. Again, this isn't going to be an all-encompassing tutorial on how to run your camera. This is giving you some basics and a place to start. So those are two things that you want to be very mindful of when you are looking for a camera. Next, you want to think about recording limits. And this is something I didn't think about when I started, and one of the first challenges that I ran into when I got my first camera. A lot of cameras have 20 to 30 minute limits on the length of a clip. If you have a tripod set up and you're trying to shoot, say, a podcast, or you're trying to record one of your live performances of your band, and it's going to cut your clip off at 25 minutes, well, that's probably not going to meet your needs. One of the great things about Sony cameras and many other cameras also is that there are no limits on the length of your clips, which is absolutely great. Another great thing that you're looking for out of a camera is finding a camera that's got great, quick autofocus. That's going to be vitally important if you are doing things all on your own and you don't have somebody keeping an eye on that camera. So whether I am this close or I'm this close, I want to make sure that camera is keeping me in focus. And there's certainly another conversation to be had about using manual focus, especially when you're shooting other subjects or you are, doing landscape, video, photography, whatever. But for today's purposes, when we're talking about creating our own content and you need to make sure that you're staying in focus, having a camera that's got great autofocus is going to serve you well. All right, so the next thing we need to talk about is the camera lens. We've got the camera sorted out. You know what you're looking for. You need to find a camera that's got 4K resolution, that's going to shoot up to hopefully 60 frames per second, and is going to be light, is going to allow you to shoot as long of a clip as you have the memory card and power to sustain the camera for, and something that is going to have excellent autofocus. When we're talking about camera lenses, there are two main different types of camera lenses. You have prime lenses and zoom lenses. A prime lens simply means it's going to have one focal length. And when I say focal length, that is going to be how zoomed in or out that lens is. The lower the number in millimeters, the wider the lens is going to be. So think about it like this. If you have a lens that is a 12 millimeter lens, it's probably going to have a very wide angle and is going to capture a lot of information within the shot. Like this lens itself that I'm running on this camera right now goes to 16 millimeters. And let's just go, you can see how wide that is. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit because I like the shot better when it's set like this. But maybe you want the wide lens. Sometimes I have it full 16 and you want to capture, if I'm getting video of my studio, I want to capture as much of the studio as possible. And so to have that flexibility with a zoom lens is going to give you a range in focal lengths. This lens that I'm using right now is a 16 to 35 millimeter lens. This is a prime 30 millimeter lens. One of the good things about a prime lens that you're going to find is that they're going to have a lower aperture. And when we're talking about aperture is how much light that lens is letting in. So the lower the aperture, the more light you're going to be able to get in, and also the more depth of field you're going to be able to get, meaning that whatever you're focusing on is hyper in focus, and everything that's not what you're focusing on is going to be blurred out, and you can see distinctly what you're focusing on. Right now, I'm at a aperture of f11. Aperture is always represented in an f-stop. So f11, f1.4. This is a 30 millimeter 1.4 f-stop lens. And that's gonna allow me to get some really great depth of field, but also to be able to get a lot of light into that lens, even if I am filming in a dark environment. And that's really all I'll say about lenses. There's a lot to understand, but I don't think that is a conversation for today. The next thing we've got to talk about is getting a microphone for your camera. And there are a lot of different kinds of microphones. You've got little mics like this. This is a great little Deity microphone. It's probably be a great starting place for you guys. You've got bigger shotgun mics that go on the cameras. My favorite these days is the Sennheiser MKE 400. I use this mic on all of my run and gun stuff on my cameras. It really just, to me, is the best bang for the buck, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. So at this point, we have addressed some camera basics. We have talked about lenses. We've talked about microphones. And the next thing, naturally, that we need to talk about is light. Light is your friend when you are shooting video. So as I mentioned, these lenses are going to have some limitations on the amount of light they require depending on how much you want to be in focus. If you are in a situation where you're trying to make everything in your shot in focus, it's going to mean that the higher the aperture, the less light that's going to be in that shot. You're going to have to compensate by creating light. There's a lot of different lighting options out there, and the amount of light, the type of light, most light that you're going to see in television and film is going to be at 5600 Kelvin. Remember that. Look up lighting. 5600 Kelvin is typically daylight type of light. That's what we're using right now. I have gone through all the different lighting options in my journey to get here. So they're the cheapest option to get you started. It's going to be some basic softbox lighting that you can get for $30 to $50. All of this will be linked in the description below. Then you can get some LED panel lights that are going to give you a little more flexibility that can be bicolor, meaning that you can go between yellows and whites and really fine tune the type of light that you want in your shots. And as your budgets increase, as you get better and better at this, there will be endless options in terms of lighting and having flexibility to create the lighting environment that you need in your space or wherever you are creating your video. For me, if I was to start over today, knowing what I know now and having a very tight budget that I was working on, I would save up $1,000 to $1,200. Until then, I'd just be using my iPhone. And I would get used to being comfortable talking into my telephone. Most of us have iPhones or Droids, and they all have incredible cameras on them today. Be sure to go into your camera settings and you can make all these adjustments that we've been talking about. I have my iPhone is defaulting to 4K at 60 frames per second so that if I need to slow it down to 24 frames, I can do great slow-mo shots of things, and I can also have a lot of flexibility with that footage on the back end when I go in to edit it. But I would be saving up $1,000 to $1,200, and the camera that I would start with is a camera that I still own today. I would go for this camera right here. This is the Sony Alpha A6600 body with the Sigma 16mm wide angle lens. It has an f-stop aperture of 1.4, meaning that I can get some really great depth of field. If I want to have everything in the background blurred out and just have me in focus, I can do that. It goes up to a maximum of f-stop of 16, which means everything in here can be in focus. It's just going to require that I need more light so that wherever I'm videoing is a representative of how it actually looks in the room. And I would absolutely get this Sennheiser MKE 400 shotgun mic for this camera. And this is going to get you everything you need to get really high-end video. It's going to give you a lot of flexibility in what you can do with it. And it's going to be a great entry point for you learning how to do all of this. I absolutely think you will be blown away by the quality of the footage that you're going to get with this camera. So we've gotten into some camera basics. I'm going to link to some great resources in the description below to help you further that knowledge base, because it's a lot to wrap your head around. One quick video on getting a camera and learning how to shoot content is not going to get you there. I'm also going to list all the gear I'm using in my studio to shoot these videos and to make all the content that I do will be listed in the description below. If you want to check any of that stuff out, go check it out. If you're thinking about buying any of it, I would just first start on Facebook Marketplace and see if anybody is moving any camera gear or moving any lighting gear. I've got some great deals on lighting off of Facebook Marketplace. Someone that's close to you that you don't have to buy brand new stuff, especially if you're starting to get more into high-end stuff. You can get great deals on these aperture lights on Facebook all the time on Facebook Marketplace. Obviously, eBay and B&H Photo are a great resource to getting new and used camera gear. Of course, Amazon is always a go-to. There will be links for all the stuff that I'm using in the description below. But get out there and just get used to making content and work through the suck, because we all suck at first. Hell, most of the stuff that I look at on this video, I'm like, what are you talking about, guy? I would love for you to, if you're not subscribed to this channel, just stop what you're doing right now, hit the subscribe button, turn your notifications on so you get notified when the videos come out. And smash the like button. You made it to the end. Drop me a comment. Let me know what questions you have about using a camera, or what cameras I use, why I use what I use. If there's anything that I skipped over that you feel like needs more explanation, meet me in the comments. Until next time, I'm Justin Brogdon. You guys keep doubling down and betting on yourselves. Make great music, make great videos. I'm going to be seeing you in the next one. Peace.